Welcome, everybody. I hope you are doing well today. Let me know what you had for dinner. If you didn't like what you had for dinner, tell me what you wish you had for dinner. I see Courtney's here, Vicky Pathless is here, Mayor's here, Colonel Coffee, who I believe you prefer just coffee, is here. Welcome. Uh, for chaos. So yes, that's what we'll get. Jukebox Cherry's here. T-Rex Trucking is here. MB is here. Hello, hello, hello. So, like I said, tell me what you have for dinner. Hi, Paul. Um, Tell me what you have for dinner. If you didn't like what you had for dinner, tell me what you wish you had for dinner. I'm on the West Coast right now, so that means it's only 5 o'clock. I haven't actually had dinner yet. I had a very late lunch. That doesn't matter. I still want to know what you had for dinner. We are continuing this evening our divorce drama. We get these every once in a while. This judge that we're going to be seeing is we somebody that we affectionately refer to as Judge Surfer Dude, and also um Judge Lockhart, because of Streamlabs. You have a new little logo there, Streamlabs. Wow. Um Using all the money that I fucking pay you, you fucking asshole, Streamlabs. Anyways, regardless, oh yeah, so that's a good point. If you're new here, it's gonna be real busy in the chat. That's the way it is. Feel free to ask any questions. We have a lot of commands. We have a lot of fun with that. There's gambling. You earn points for being here. Um, yeah. So just be prepared for that. If you hate the gambling and the fun debauchery, you can always block Streamlabs. But most people regret that later on. Anyways, that's your warning for this. We are jumping right back in. Hi, Dana. We're jumping right back into where we left off yesterday. So Judge Hagen, or Referee Hagen, I call him Judge Surfer Dude because he sits there and he's so quiet, and I can just see him planning. Where's part one to this clip? Yesterday. The live from yesterday. That's the one. Um, I think I just called it Referee Hagen is back, but it is literally the one from yesterday. And it has the judge's picture on it. Anyways, um, we are now getting into I guess, wherever we left off. There's many, many hours of this to go. So let's jump right in. Oh, last thing. If you haven't hit the like button and clocked in for your shift, please do that. It's really, really important. Thank you. Okay.
Possibly three. But we'll see.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen.
Get your feet off my seat.
Wow, what great moment to jump into that I just obviously paused perfectly last time. This is once again a divorce case or child custody case. Trigger warning for somebody yelling in somebody's face, which I wasn't expecting, by the way. Uh yeah, these people are fucking petty so far is what I got on them. So we'll see. Here we go. Yeah, let's see.
What is your problem? I asked you a question.
Nothing.
I like how you tell everybody that I'm being the jerk. I'm being a jerk because I'm sick of you being a little punk. You think you're being funny? Do you think you're being you think we like to spend time with you right now? You turning 8 and 9 has been the biggest pain in my butt because you're a little jerk, is what you are.
I would renew my statement, Your Honor, that the child statement of nothing falls under MRE 8032 or 3, and I would offer Exhibit 5 into evidence.
Ms. Meltzer, did you want to make any further objection or comment?
Your Honor, I am reading the hearsay objection 8032, a statement relating to a startling event or condition made while the declarant was under the stress of excitement caused by the event or condition. I haven't heard any testimony about what event or condition this child was under the stress or excitement of. And so, yeah, again, I just don't see it. I don't see it as fitting into that exception without a better foundation laid. But one hasn't been laid to this point.
Okay, well, I believe it fits under 803 too. I think the stress and the excitement of the event is defendant clearly yelling at the child. I think you can tell by the child's reaction, he's stressed out. So over objection, it's admitted. Exhibit 5 is admitted.
Ms. Klosterman, can you explain the circumstances that were transpiring at the time that you filmed Exhibit 5?
Yes, we were getting ready to leave the house and Kelvin was kicking the back of the seat.
And can you clarify, in Exhibit 5, the defendant is he like leaning over a console? Is he in the back of the car? Where is he?
He came back around and was like in the sliding door of the minivan.
And Ms. Klosterman, during this incident, did you try and intervene on the child's behalf?
I did before I started videoing. I had asked, let's talk, because he was kicking the back of the seat and it was driving Kevin crazy. And so I had said, hey, stop, Kevin said, stop, let's talk to Kelvin about this. And he, it just happened one too many times and he jumped out of the car and went around. And that's when he started the conversation with Kelvin, or the monologue with Kelvin.
Did you?
Oh, it's coming back to me now. Is it bad? Anyways, Kelvin and Kevin. That's right. Dad is Kevin. Child is Kelvin. We haven't got to the bottom of why they did that yet. That's perplexing to me, and I really hope we learn that, because that's so far my biggest question. Seems like such an odd name choice. Anyways, let's keep going.
Ask the defendant to lower his voice.
Yes, I did.
And did he lower his voice?
No, he did not.
Did you call Child Protective Services after this incident?
I did not.
Why not?
I was scared and I thought I could handle it myself.
And why did you start filming?
Because at this point, again, I wanted to try to prove that this was happening. I would talk to Kevin about it and he didn't realize how loud, angry he would get. And I knew that I had to do something, then that's what I chose to do.
And Ms. Klosterman, after the incident, did you comfort your child at all?
Yes, I got out of the car and went around, and I don't know if I unbuckled him or not, but I went and sat next to him and before we left the driveway.
And Ms. Klosterman, after this incident in April of 2017, did the defendant's methods of discipline with the children change?
No.
Right. Ms. Klosterman, in a second, I'm going to ask you to look at Plaintiff's Exhibit 3. Can you describe what Plaintiff's Exhibit 3 is?
Yes, it is Kevin again talking.
And Kevin is the defendant, correct?
Correct.
Did you film Exhibit 3?
I did.
When did you film Exhibit 3?
February 23 of 2019.
And in Plaintiff's Exhibit 3, is that the entirety of the...
Yeah, that's a good question. I guess I don't know if I've always just been the stronger-headed parent. So I could just tell you right now, my daughter's father or nobody would be yelling at my child like that while buckled into a fucking car, even if I felt like yelling at her like that. It just immediately I would turn on that person. There's no way I would videotape it. I would literally just fucking start freaking out on them. So there wouldn't be a fight with the child. The child would be removed. I would just be like arguing with the person who's yelling at my kid. Hi, Donna. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It is divorce season. Like that that rubs me the wrong way. Like if you know it's bad enough to videotape it, why aren't you stepping up? Like again, and maybe I'm just more volatile, but I can just tell you, I can imagine there are very few times in my life when somebody's ever done that to my daughter, and like I've had to do that. But I mean, I can just tell you exactly that that video would not be like that. There would not be silence on my side from that video. Even if there was video rolling, I would, yeah, no. And maybe my video would result in different charges. I don't know.
Clip you filmed at that time?
Yes, it's the entire clip.
And is it an accurate representation of the defendant in February 23, 2019?
Yes, it is.
Your Honor, I'm going to offer Plaintiff's Exhibit 3.
Is this the one where we have the statements for sure?
I believe.
Ms. Schmelzer, I'll let you respond. I just wanted to clarify for my notes as well.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. Yes, this is the one, as far as the exhibit 3 that I reviewed or was proposed to me. So I do have to have a preliminary objection here. The child is speaking, and I do not believe this one falls under the excited utterance exception to hearsay, because the child is actually conversing back and forth about the topic at hand that's being discussed with Mr. Kloosterman, which is, laundry and a room being picked up and whatnot. I don't think it doesn't meet the excited utterance exception that we discussed in the last one. So I do have a standing objection to this one.
Response?
Your Honor, first of all, I would say that the child's statements don't fall into the definition of hearsay, as they're not being offered for the truth of what the child is saying. The purpose of Plaintiff's Exhibit 3 is for the truth of defendant's own statements, and the child's content is irrelevant. Secondly, I would believe that the minor child statements do fall under the excited utterance exception to the hearsay rule if this court deems the statements to be hearsay, because again, similar to Plaintiff's Exhibit 2, this child is responding to an event in which they're being yelled at, and the child's response to being yelled at, I believe, is a stressful situation, and the response is made at the time of the stressful situation.
Well, why do we need a conversation between the child? Why do you want the child's statement, this conversation put on the record? I mean, I'm gonna do it in camera, and can't your client just describe it? I mean, why would we put the child in this position?
Your Honor, I believe that the exhibit is extremely relevant to how this client or how the defendant disciplines his children. And I think the volume and veracity at which he speaks to the children is something that can't be conveyed simply by my client's testimony. I understand that the court may find it, I guess, redundant, but I think plaintiff has the ability to present her case in a way through admissible evidence.
No, I'm sure I understand, but ability to present your case, that's not really what I'm presenting. I'm trying to protect a child, and your client wants to put the child in this circumstance, which I don't really feel is appropriate.
And I think
have children testify for this reason, and I'm going to be conducting the in-camera. Are you denying that it's a discussion between the two? You can claim it as yelling or argument or however you want to say, but they're interacting. I mean, is this different than the last video where obviously I don't believe that the statement the child made, that was just a response when being yelled at. If this is an argument between the two of them, I don't necessarily need to watch that. Your client can describe it. There's nothing unreliable about that testimony.
I understand, Your Honor. I'll move on.
I mean, the part of it is, and I just want to explain, I mean, part of this is, I'm not suggesting it's necessarily inappropriate, like something you're trying to do that's wrong. It's just, I'm not so sure that it's something the court needs to view in order to keep, obviously, we try our best to protect, or at least I'll put it this way, the court tries its best to protect children from these circumstances. I'm not entirely comfortable.
I mean, if the issue is the children, we could take this portion off Zoom. If it's an issue with the public seeing a child or statements, and I think that resolves the concern about child safety.
Well, it's also putting the child in between two parents. That's what I'm worried about too. There's still a safety risk there in trying to protect the children from what their parents are doing to them in court. I mean, that's a reality. So I guess I'll take it off of YouTube and I can watch it and decide. But
All right, Your Honor.
I really don't appreciate putting videos of children like this in court. I think it's hyperbolic. This isn't a jury trial. This is a bench trial.
I understand. Your
I'll
Honor.
watch it off of YouTube and decide based on the rules of evidence. But
I hear your comments, Your Honor, and I will move on.
it's just I take that part seriously. So I can go off of YouTube here and watch it and see.
You're good. I'll move on. I'll withdraw.
Well, but I want you to be able to preserve this as an issue for an objection. So I don't. If you want me to view it that way, you can. Just tell me what you want. Do you want me to turn it off YouTube? I'm only going to view it off of YouTube. That's all I'm asking. If you're withdrawing your request to have it admitted, that's a different story because that.
Okay, let's go.
Let's go fuck up Paisley. It'll make it fun. It'll just be great. Hold on. No, I have the next video. Don't worry. As usual, though, they're fucking annoying with the way they did this. This is one. That was two. Three. There's one I'm missing. Hold on. We're going to get it. Hold on. We have to get it. It's a great time for everybody to go ahead and like the video, regardless if this is not going perfect or not. No, seriously. I only know that because I double checked earlier and I was like, oh, it's the hour 6-minute video, which is the next one. And for some reason, well, because I'm forgetful, I didn't hold that one. But don't worry. Here we go. I was trying to let video play and not buffer, which is why I'm not on the screen, but I'll pop back on here shortly. Canadian internet sucks. Hold on, I fucked it up because I already muted that tab, so the quality will fix in itself in a moment. And then, oh, I need to do this. Unmute the tab. Did you guys know that you can do that? You can mute your tabs and unmute them like that. Go back. Because I thought,
Maybe if I turn it on.
happy congratulations to Brian King's daughter and also baby daughter. Congrats.
I'm in Florida. It's cat food all over. You do not act like that. And I'm sick of it. You embarrassed me over there. If you want people to hate you, keep it up. Because they sure as hell don't want you in their house.
Ms. Klusterman, who is the defendant talking to in plaintiff's exhibit 4?
Kelvin.
Your Honor, I'd move to offer plaintiff's exhibit 4 into evidence.
No objection.
Admitted.
Ms. Klusterman, can you explain the circumstances that were transpiring at the time you filmed plaintiff's exhibit 4?
Yes, we had just gotten home from hanging out with friends, and Kelvin is 10 at the time, and they, as boys do, he made a mess in their house, to which we cleaned up. Wasn't a big deal. It was toys all over, but Kevin saw it differently when we
And-
got home.
Ms. Klusterman, did you try and intervene on the behalf of the minor child?
Yes, I did.
How did you try to intervene?
We didn't hear that.
I tried to talk to Kevin, physically putting myself in the situation between the two of them, and it was no use.
And did you ask the defendant to lower his voice?
Yes.
Did the defendant lower his voice?
No,
Did you call Child Protective Services after this incident?
I did not,
Why not?
because I was scared and I didn't know. I thought I don't want anything happen to our family, and I didn't know what else to do. I tried talking to Kevin again. It was doing the best I could at the time.
And Ms. Klusterman, did your minor child come to you for comfort after this interaction?
Yes.
How did you comfort him?
Hugs, as always, trying to de-escalate the situation, tell him it's not him. I a lot of times just said, this is, sometimes dad gets mad, it's okay. I tried to de-escalate the situation and also take blame off of Kelvin, and just say sometimes, we have to say things we don't mean. Maybe dad had a bad day, something like that, to not even make Kevin sound like the bad guy, but just to try to de-escalate the situation and tell Kelvin that it's not him.
And Ms. Klusterman, after this incident that was just watched in exhibit 4, did the defendant's method of discipline with the children change?
No.
I'm going to ask you to watch plaintiff's exhibit 1. Before I do that, Ms. Klusterman, can you explain what plaintiff's exhibit 1 is?
Yes, it's a video of Kevin.
And who is Kevin talking to in the video?
Kelvin.
And did you film plaintiff's exhibit 1?
I did.
When did you film plaintiff's exhibit 1?
March 7 of 2023.
And Ms. Klusterman, is plaintiff's exhibit 1 an accurate representation of what the defendant said on March 7th, 2023?
Yes, it is.
Your Honor, I'm going to proceed with playing it. Okay.
Thank Brian and Kimmy. Sorry, everybody. Please take a warning.
Beautiful. There's no fucking service right now. Don't play me, you little shit.
Your Honor, I move to admit plaintiff's exhibit 1.
Mr. Sponsor,
No objection.
exhibit 1 admitted.
Ms. Klusterman, can you explain the circumstances that were transpiring at the time you filmed plaintiff's exhibit 1?
Yes, Kelvin's cell phone was not working and we were trying to figure out what to do about it. He has an old phone, and Kevin, he had brought up for a while there, he was transferring the SIM card between the two phones to see, because one wasn't working and one was, and he was complaining that it wasn't working. And when he showed it to Kevin, it if I remember correctly, I think the one that he showed Kevin didn't have the SIM card in it. So that's what Kevin's referring to when he says that it's not even the right phone or something like that.
And during this incident, did you try and intervene on Calvin's behalf?
Yeah.
Can you explain how you tried to intervene?
I tried to stop it. This one is probably one of the more recent ones of our kids. And it was also during this time that I knew I needed to do something and to change our environment for these kids. And so this was probably one of the last ones that I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. I can't. I have to do something.
And did you ask the defendant to lower his voice?
Yes, I did.
Did he lower his voice?
No, he did not.
Did you call CPS?
I did not.
Why not?
I knew that I needed to figure out a way to get out of this environment. And that was leading up to one of the reasons why leading up to the divorce.
And Ms. Kloosterman, in that video, I believe the defendant's choice of words were little shit. Is that something he says commonly?
Yes.
Ms. Kloosterman, I'm going to have you watch what I've labeled as Plaintiff's Exhibit 8. Can you describe what Plaintiff's Exhibit 8 is?
It's Kevin talking.
And did you film Exhibit 8?
I did.
When did you film Exhibit 8?
June 1 of 2020.
And Ms. Kloosterman, at the time you filmed Exhibit 8, which you said, I think June 1, 2020, was it an accurate representation of what the defendant said at the time?
Yes.
Who is the defendant talking to in Plaintiff's Exhibit 8?
I believe it's one of the kids.
Your Honor, I'm going to share my screen for Plaintiff's Exhibit 8.
So disrespectful. You think this is the Kelvin show? Oh.
Your Honor, I'd move to admit.
Your Honor, I need to speak to Mama scurrying around upstairs with her phone, recording this. None of that screams protective parenting to me at all whatsoever. None of it. We don't even hear her fucking voice ever say, "Stop! What are you doing? Shut up!" Like, believe me, somebody like that, you can easily take the fucking brunt of their aggression if you choose to. She's skulking around upstairs.
Exhibit 8.
Ms. Schmelzer?
As to the video clip that was played, well, I could hear a voice and I could hear a sound. The words being said were inaudible on this end. So my objection would be that it's inaudible. We don't know what was said.
I heard this so disrespectful, but I couldn't understand the rest of it.
I can play it again with the volume up if that helps.
Sure.
All right.
Oh shit. So disrespectful. You think this is the Kelvin show? Oh. No.
I don't know if that was helpful.
I think I heard it all. I'm not going to repeat what I heard. So it's admitted, Exhibit 8. I understand that's over objection, but I'm admitting it.
Ms. Kloosterman, can you explain the circumstances that were transpiring at the time you filmed Exhibit 8?
Yes, Kevin went downstairs to talk to Kelvin about something, and I could tell he was escalated when he went down there, and that's actually why at the end of the video, you see me walking down the stairs because I'm heading down in that direction to make sure nothing else gets out of hand.
What did you do when you got into the basement?
I talked to both of them, and I talked to Kevin and asked him to lower his voice and if we could talk about this in a different way.
Miss Kloosterman, did you call Child Protective Services after this incident?
After this one, I did not.
Why not?
Again, I don't want to get other people involved. I feel like I could handle it. I was scared. At this point, again, something needed to happen, but I was at the time doing the only thing I knew how to.
And Miss Kloosterman, the incidences that we've watched over the past couple of minutes, did any of these occur in the presence of the other minor children?
Yes.
Miss Kloosterman, in the course of disciplining, has the defendant ever physically hurt one of the children?
Yes.
Miss Kloosterman, I'm going to ask you to look at Plaintiff's Exhibit 47 in a second here. But can you describe what Plaintiff's Exhibit 47 is?
Yes, it's a picture of Kelvin's arm with a handprint grab mark on it.
And how did Calvin get the handprint?
I believe it was an altercation with him and Kevin, and Kevin like grabbed him to physically move him as a way of his discipline.
Miss Kloosterman, when did you take Plaintiff's Exhibit 47? Like, when did you take the picture?
Am I allowed to look at my notes or no?
No, you can
No.
just remember, or maybe it might be easier for you, like if you remember how old Calvin was.
Yeah, he was about 11,
Okay, so what year would that be?
probably 2018, 19.
Your Honor, may I share my screen to look at Exhibit 47, or I'm going to be offering it based on my client's testimony just now.
Any objection to this picture?
If I may, one moment, Your Honor.
Yes.
I have no objection, Your Honor.
Thank you. Exhibit 47 is admitted.
All right, Ms. Kloosterman, hopefully you can see my screen here. I know we have it in front of us as well. I'm gonna zoom out a bit. All right, Ms. Kloosterman, can you explain the circumstances that transpired prior to the grabbing of the arm?
I don't know specifically, unfortunately, but I do know that there was an altercation, and this picture was taken the day after.
And did you try and intervene during the altercation?
Yes, I always do.
What did you do at this point in time to intervene?
Asked if we could talk about it. Please stop. Is there a better way that we can convey whatever Kelvin's doing wrong to him rather than like physically manhandling him?
And did Calvin require comfort after this incident?
Yes.
How did you comfort him?
As I always do, trying to talk him down from the situation, making him realize that this is not him and that this is something that we can learn from, and we got to figure out a way.
Ms. Kloosterman, did you contact CPS?
I did not,
Why did you not contact CPS?
because I was scared and I knew that if I were to do that, something else could make it worse.
Ms. Kloosterman, I'm going to move on to factor C of the best interest factors, which involves the capacity and disposition of the parties to provide the children with food, clothing, and medical care. So I'm going to talk about that with you now. During your marriage, who typically prepared dinner for the children?
I would say 75% of the time myself, 25% Kevin.
Who typically prepared breakfast for the children?
Me.
Who typically prepared lunch?
Me.
Who typically did the grocery shopping during your marriage?
Mostly me. I like the big trips, planning the meals, that kind of thing. If we needed things here or there, he would definitely jump in and pick them up at the grocery store.
And Ms. Kloosterman, on September 17th, 2018, did you ask the defendant to pack the children's sandwiches?
Yes, I did.
Did the defendant pack the children's sandwiches?
He did not.
Did you ask why he did not pack the children's sandwiches?
Yes, he said that the girls didn't want sandwiches in their lunch.
And in your opinion, was that an appropriate decision for the children to make given their age at the time?
No.
Ms. Kloosterman, on October 16th, 2021, did you ask the defendant to make the children breakfast?
Yes.
Did the defendant make the children breakfast that day?
He did not.
Did you ask the defendant why he did not make the children breakfast?
Well, he like made something and then she refused to eat it, so he was not going to make something else. And I don't remember what the actual meal was, but I know it was a conversation that happened between the two of us later.
And Ms. Kloosterman, on March 1st, 2023, did you pick up dinner for Kelsey and Callie?
Yes, I did.
Did you text the defendant and ask if he or Kelvin needed food?
I sure did.
What was the defendant's response as it pertains to Kelvin?
He said, I don't know if it was after a game or a practice or something, but he said Kelvin doesn't need food. He can eat at home. He doesn't deserve it.
Ms. Kloosterman, during your marriage, who typically cleaned up the kitchen after food preparation?
Me.
During your marriage, who typically did the laundry?
Kevin does do laundry. Mostly me. He does a great job of like washing, drying, that kind of stuff, but like as opposed to like folding, putting it away, not leaving it in a pile, that was me.
And during your marriage, who typically got the children ready for bed at night?
Me.
What does your children's bedtime routine consist of?
Getting them ready for bed, brushing teeth, combing hair if they need to, making sure their lunches, or not lunches, making sure their backpacks are ready to go in the morning, tucking them in at bed, listening to prayers. We always had a time of conversation that was kind of our time to recap the day and talk about what the next day is going to look like.
And during your marriage, who typically got the children up in the mornings?
Me.
And what does your children's morning routine consist of?
Pretty similar, getting up, showering if need be, obviously brushing teeth, combing hair, getting dressed, packing lunches, breakfast, getting ready to go out the door.
And Ms. Kloosterman, when your children are getting ready in the morning, was the defendant historically like awake?
No, I would usually get the kids up, get myself going, and then I would wake him up because he would take the kids to school.
And my next question, how do your children get to school in the mornings?
Kevin brings the kids, whoever at the time, whether it was Calvin or Callie, to East Middle. When the kids were going with me up to Sutton's Bay, I would take the kids up, but now that we live in town, they walk across the street to Central and Eastern.
Ms. Kloosterman, has there ever been an incident where the defendant overslept and the children weren't brought to school?
Yes.
And approximately how many times would you say that's happened?
Probably 3 to 5.
How do your children get home in the afternoons?
Kelvin and Kelsey walk home. Callie will usually ride the bus. Sometimes she'll call Kevin or I to pick her up, or grandma.
And during your marriage, who typically purchased clothing for the children?
Me.
Who arranged for the bills to be paid during your marriage? And I'm not saying like who earned the money, but like Spectrum needs to be paid. Who made sure that bill was paid on time?
I would say both of us.
On September 28th, 2021, did you ask the defendant if he could bring one of the children's water bottles to school?
Yes, I did.
What did the defendant say?
He said he was too busy. It didn't fit in his schedule.
This is a fucking joke, right? Is this a fucking joke? Judge, can I object? Why is nobody else objecting to water bottles and sandwiches and fucking one breakfast here and there? Everybody fucks up once in a while.
Were you able to bring the child's water bottle to school?
Yes, I had to leave school because they needed it. There was some event happening that they needed a water bottle for. And so, yes, I left school so that I could do that because he just said it was my responsibility to figure it out.
If the children typically needed something brought to school, who would do that for them?
Typically myself.
And Ms. Kloosterman, if the children needed like a note for school, like for example, to get out early for an appointment, who would write that note?
Me.
Ms. Kloosterman, on April 10th, 2023, did you ask the defendant to write a note for Callie so that she could ride the bus home with a friend?
I did.
And did the defendant write the note?
He did not.
How did you solve the problem?
Callie called and said,
And remember, we're
yep, that's hearsay. I ended up calling the school and giving permission for her to go home with that friend after school.
Ms. Glusman, during your marriage, who typically scheduled the children's doctor's appointments?
Me.
Who took the children to their doctor's appointments?
Me.
And who is your children's pediatrician?
Dr. Walter Meeker.
Ms. Klusman, on November 21st, 2014, who took Calvin to urgent care?
Me.
On January 15th, 2014, who took Kelsey to the doctor?
Me.
On February 2nd, 2015, who took Kelsey to the doctor for a dislocated?
Objection. Objection. 2014. This is so far out of the range. I'm mad. I'm mad. Hi, Pseudo, Beverly Bradford, all my friends that are here. This is nuts. This be nuts.
Can we just slow down a little bit because these dates are rolling really
Slow down? No. How about we speed up and speed through time to now? I do not give a fuck who took little Susie to the doctor in 2015. No.
fast and I need to write them down. So would you mind just slowing down just a little bit? Thank you.
Not at all. I understand it's easy when I'm looking at my notes. On September 10th, 2015, who took Callie to urgent care for a fracture?
Me.
On June 29th, 2016, who took Kelsey to the doctor?
Me.
On February 6th, 2017, who took Calvin to the emergency room for a broken nose?
Me.
On February 15th, 2017, who scheduled Callie an appointment with a dermatologist?
Me.
On March 3rd, 2017, who took Callie to the urgent care for a dog bite?
Me.
On October 2nd, 2017, who took Calvin to get a physical?
Me.
On December 3rd, 2017, who took Callie to the urgent care for a cut on her finger?
Me.
On December 11th, 2017, who took Calvin to get his stitches out?
Me.
On January 24th, 2018, who took Callie to Dr. Meeker?
Me.
On October 12th, 2018, who took Callie to Dr. Meeker?
Me.
On January 17th, 2019, who took Calvin to Dr. Meeker?
Me.
On January 25th, 2019, who picked up the children's prescriptions?
Me.
On March 6th, 2020, who scheduled Calvin a doctor's appointment for his knee?
Me.
On January 4th, 2021, who took Callie to the doctor for a broken wrist?
Me.
On April 14th, 2021, who took care of Calvin's COVID test so he could play tennis?
Me.
On June 7th, 2021.
I like Lisa's here. On February 9th, 2015, did you ask Kelvin to wipe Kevin's ass after he ate a tub of prunes by mistake? I think you have it flipped, Lisa. Kevin is the dad. Kelvin is the kid. They added an L.
Who called the doctor about a wart one of the children had?
Me.
On June 9th, 2021, who took Calvin to Dr. Meeker?
Me.
On March 6th, 2022, who stayed up with Callie when she was sick at night?
Me.
And who called the doctor's office for Callie the next morning?
Me.
Who picked up Callie's prescription once it was issued?
Me.
On May 31st, 2023, who brought Callie to the doctor?
Me.
And what was Callie diagnosed with on May 31st?
Strep throat.
Was Callie given a prescription in May of 2023?
Yes, she was. Amoxicillin.
Did the doctor give you a prescription for the other children at the time?
He did. I had told him that they were all exhibiting the same symptoms, and so he's seen them their whole life. So he gave me 3 prescriptions for amoxicillin to treat all of them.
And did you deliver the prescription to the defendant on the weekend of June 2nd, 2023?
Yes, I did.
Can you explain how you delivered the prescription to defendant?
Yep, I had a Ziploc bag with a note card in it that had each of their names on it. It's the teacher and me, but it was like check marks for Saturday morning, Saturday night, Sunday morning. I knew that then when I would get the kids back Sunday night, they wouldn't need a pill then. So there was enough pills for each kid, for each dosage in a Ziploc bag, and I signed and sealed and handed it to him.
Ms. Glusserman, to your knowledge, did the children receive their antibiotics that weekend?
I know they did not.
How do you know that?
because a couple weeks later, he handed me the Ziploc bag and said, "Hey, I found this in my truck."
Ms. Kloosterman, in the past 15 years, approximately how many times has the defendant taken the children to a doctor's appointment?
Probably 5 to 8 times.
Did the defendant take the Calvin to the doctor on February 15th, 2018?
The Kelvin? Did the defendant take the Kelvin to the doctor? What? That's weird.
No.
Ms. Kloosterman,
Oh, sorry, that was the date he did take them to. Yes.
defendant took the
Yes,
Kevin to the
yep,
doctor in
Kevin
February?
took him in February.
Okay. And what did the defendant report to you about his experience at the doctor?
He said he hated it. Now he knows why he never goes. He said he felt stupid because he didn't know how to fill out the paperwork. He was texting me while I was teaching, asking me questions about the paperwork and how to fill it out, like medical history stuff that you fill out every time.
And from your texting communication with the defendant at this point in time, did he appear concerned about Calvin's health?
No, he did not. I remember texting Kevin specifically saying, "Hey, please tell Dr. Meeker that Kelvin's had a fever for the last 10 days on and off, anywhere from 99 to 104. And Kevin's response through text message was, "He seems fine. This is just another instance where we can't believe what he says."
And during your marriage to the defendant, who typically scheduled the children's dentist appointments?
Me.
And
Who
their
typically
chiropractor?
took the children to the dentist?
Me.
On November 14th, 2018, who took the 3 children to the dentist?
Me.
On April 27th, 2020, who brought Kelvin to the orthodontist?
Me.
On August 18th, 2020, who brought Kelsey to the dentist?
Me.
On November 3rd, 2021, who took all 3 children to the dentist?
Me.
On April 11th, 2022, did you ask the defendant if he could take Callie to the orthodontist?
Yes, I did.
Was the defendant able to take Callie?
He was not.
Why?
He didn't say. I asked if he was working and he said he wasn't working, but he had other plans. So at that point, he told me to ask his mom.
And who ended up taking Callie to the orthodontist?
His mom, Cheryl.
Ms. Kloosterman, in the past 15 years, approximately how many times has the defendant taken the children to the dentist or orthodontist?
Probably 5.
Ms. Kloosterman, have you always provided health insurance on the minor children?
Yes, I have.
During your marriage, who would get up with the children at night if they were sick?
Me.
Was the defendant willing to help in these situations?
No.
Ms. Kloosterman, I'm going to ask you to look at whatever I have labeled as Plaintiff's Exhibit 54. Your Honor, this is not a video, so just to clarify, am I pulling the exhibit up right now, or are we still doing foundation first before I ask her to look at it?
Well, she can look at it as the witness and describe what it is.
I just want to make sure that I'm doing it the way that, okay. Ms. Kloosterman, we have in front of us Exhibit 54 plaintiffs. Can you explain to me what Exhibit 54 is?
Yes, it is. I'm telling Kevin via text message at 11:22 in the evening on January 10. Kelvin's burning up. I feel like I should sleep by him tonight, either on his floor or him in our room.
And Ms. Kloosterman, Exhibit 54, is the phone number in the upper left-hand portion 231-642-7736.
You fucking dumb bitch. You're so fucking dumb. You're so fucking dumb. I fucking hate you. I hate you. I hate you. I hate you. I hate you.
Jay's phone 231-34. Me.
Yes.
Is it an accurate representation of your conversation with the defendant on January 10th, 2015?
Yes.
Your Honor, I'd offer Exhibit 54.
I just had one question real quick before I turn it over to Ms. Schmelzer. This was January 10th of what year?
2015, Your Honor.
Ms. Schmelzer, any objection to 54?
Well, 50, I'm a little confused here because she just talked about January 10th of 2015, but Exhibit 54 goes into all the way into January 12th. It's an ongoing string. So are we just admitting text messages from January 10th? Are we admitting the whole thing?
I can remedy that. Ms. Kloosterman, is this a accurate description of your conversation starting from January 10th, 2015 and going until January 12th, 2015?
Yes.
Your Honor, I would offer Exhibit 54.
I mean, I guess I don't understand the relevance to all of these text messages. We were talking about a child being sick, and now these text messages are just back and forth about other stuff too. So.
And Your Honor, I think that the point of relevance here is we're talking about the capacity of the parties to provide medical care for the children. My client is reaching out to the defendant to help with medical care for the child, and I think the defendant's response in regard to that request is directly relevant.
I don't.
I mean, it's difficult. I mean, that's January 10th. And then January 11th, there's things like, can you stop and get milk on the way home? I'll be home in a couple hours. I have to check out this thing or plow all day. It's a conversation back and forth about the parties just living a life of trying to work and take care of children. That's why I'm confused is what are you going into the 12th about? What is the relevance to this?
Well, I offered the 12th because you had an issue with the date. And so then I clarified that this is a full conversation between the parties. My point of relevance is into the first message on the 10th. If you prefer that page 2 is dropped from the exhibit, that's fine.
It's not that I have a preference. These are your exhibits, and I'm trying to figure out how they fit into this matter or what the relevance is, because the testimony was about the 10th, but you prepared an exhibit that's 2 pages long that goes into the 12th. So if you're seeking to admit all this entire conversation through the 12th, then my objection is to relevance.
And as to relevance, Your Honor, I would renew my initial statement that this is an ongoing conversation about the children not feeling well. Also, I think throughout the rest of it, it's about child-related things. Can you get the kids dinner? I need to lay down. Can you take her downstairs? Did you forget? This is all directly related to the children.
If it's all related to the children, I'll admit it as is. Exhibit 54 is admitted.
I'd like to maintain my standing objection because I don't think it's all related to the children, but I know the court hasn't seen it yet.
I haven't. So, but can we just remedy this is the first page the one that you want? She already offered that would be fine. So you could take page 2 off. So that's what I'll do is just omit page 2 and only review page 1. So be it. I'm not sure it's that complicated of an issue.
I don't really care.
All right, so you're fine with 54 being just the first page?
Yes.
And there's still a standing objection, but I'm only gonna review page 1. So whatever I don't know if there was an objection to that or not.
You hold it until the page breaks.
All right, Ms. Kloosterman, I ask you to look at page 1 of Plaintiff's Exhibit 54. Again, you text the defendant on January 10th, 2015 at 11:22 p.m. Can you read your text messages?
Yeah, this is Kelvin is burning up.
Whoa. Do you see what that says? Holy motherfucker. It says, Kelvin is burning up. I feel like I should sleep by him tonight, either in his floor or him in here. And then Kevin says, I can do whatever you want after you deep throat me. Oh my God, what did she respond with? Nothing. Nothing. Or she deleted it. But then he writes, yeah? What the fuck? Man, she must have a pretty good deep throat game. I'm gonna give her that. I'm gonna give her that.
I feel like I should sleep by him tonight, either in his floor or him in here.
And can you read the defendant's response at 11:25 p.m.?
Yep, he says, I can do whatever you want after you deep throat me.
Ms. Kloosterman, during your marriage, when you would ask for assistance in relation to the children, was it common or uncommon for the defendant to respond with a request for sexual gratification?
Very common.
And Ms. Kloosterman, what would happen if you did not acquiesce to defendant's request?
I wouldn't get the help, or I would be ignored.
Ms. Kloosterman, during the marriage, did the defendant ever accuse you of not contributing towards marital bills?
Yes.
Were these accusations made in front of the children?
Yes.
Hold on. So she went and deep throated him? Is that what we're to understand there? The child was taken care of? Again, good skills.
Ms. Kloosterman, have you sought out any counseling for the children since the divorce started?
Yes. Starting way back in May, probably end of April. As a teacher, I know that how important it is for these kids to have someone that they can talk to. And so I had talked to Kevin probably from the get-go and said, hey, we need to get our kids into some counseling. He did not agree at first. He thought it was stupid and crazy. And then eventually he did come around.
I did have to deep throat him like 14 times, and then he did.
We kind of went back and forth for about 3 months on who they would see. I probably called between 17 and 25 people. Traverse City is a very hard town to get counseling services right now. They're full, they're backed up. I put our kids on lots of waiting lists. So as of just recently, we've both have finally agreed on a counselor for the kids.
And Ms. Kloosterman, on Friday, October 13th, 2023, did one of the children's counselors contact you?
Yes.
Was the defendant included on the message?
No.
Ms. Kloosterman, factor D of the best interest factors looks at the length of time the child has lived in a stable, satisfactory environment and the desirability of maintaining continuity. And I'm going to ask you some questions under that, okay?
Okay.
Do you and your children have any set routines when they're in your care?
Yes.
Can you explain what those routines are?
Yes. When we do meals, one of the girls usually set the table. Kelvin usually cleans up the table if he's around. If he's not, he's obviously not around. He might be at practice. Bedtime routines. The time of the routine varies depending on what practice they have or other things that are going on, but the consistency for that, I always tuck them in. I hear their prayers. We talk. Like that has been their consistent routine since they were little. Same thing for morning. Get them up slow, eat breakfast, get them ready to go out the door.
And Ms. Glishman, do you believe that routines are important?
I think routines are extremely important. It's setting boundaries and expectations, but it's allowing.
Could you please give us your skincare routine? Kidding.
Them safety and they know what to expect. And it's as a teacher, I mean, we're taught to have routines in our classroom all the time. So it's the same thing at home.
And Mrs. Klisterman, have you and the defendant reached an agreement about the marital home?
Yes.
And are you retaining the home or is the defendant?
The defendant, Kevin, is.
Will you be receiving a sum of money for your equity for the marital home?
Yes.
And once you receive that equity, what is your plan for housing?
My plan is to purchase a home. It's an extremely low inventory market right now. But if I can't purchase one, I have plans to rent until I can purchase.
And Ms. Klusterman, do you have any doubts regarding your ability to find either a rental or a home that's satisfactory for the children?
Nope, not at all.
Ms. Klusterman, do you think it's common for parties in a divorce case for one party to have to move out?
Yes.
Ms. Klusterman, factor E of the best interest factors examines the permanence of the family unit or the existing or proposed custodial home, and I want to talk about that briefly. Do you have any pets at the marital residence?
Yes, we do.
What sort of pets do you have?
Pets.
We have 1 cat and 2 dogs.
And what's going to happen to the cat once the divorce is finalized?
Copper's coming with me.
What's going to happen to the dogs?
The dogs will also be coming with me.
Are the children bonded to those pets?
Yes, they are.
Ms. Klusterman, in the defendant's referee status conference brief that was filed on July 11th, 2023, the defendant accuses you of obtaining the dogs in an attempt to buy the children's affections. Is that true?
Absolutely not.
Can you explain why you obtained the dogs?
Yes. Our entire marriage, I have been asking, pleading for a dog for a short amount of time. In 2015, 16, we had one for a few months. It was always a point of contention for us. Kevin doesn't like dogs. He doesn't like what they do to his yard and his line of work. I understand that. However, our children and myself, again, not hearsay, myself have always wanted a dog. Grew up with a dog. I think dogs are wonderful. In my classroom, therapy dogs, right? My goal was always to have a therapy dog for my classroom. Throughout our marriage, however, Kevin would not allow us to have a dog. However, it was a huge point of contention, and the fact that there was times where I would do sexual favors for him or other male friends of his in order to, per se, earn a dog. And so it was my understanding that if I were to complete this task, that I would then be allowed or permitted to get a dog. Multiple times, many times, that was not followed through. And so and then a few months after he had left the house, I had decided that this was the right time and I needed companionship and something to occupy my time with. So I got the 2 dogs.
And Ms. Klusterman, where do your parents reside?
Zeeland, Michigan.
How often do your parents see the children?
More so that more recently, but they are up here a lot. My sister also lives in town.
MB, I actually don't think that he said that. What I think is that she said she used her deep throat skills, which obviously are very on point. We can just be sure of that if he's bragging and sharing. Anyways, I would love to go back and watch his face when she said that. I wasn't watching it. I was just like flabbergasted, but think about that. Also, so what she said was that she always wanted a dog. She didn't bring this up like, oh, he sexually abuses me. She brought it up and said, we never agreed about a dog. I always wanted one. And he used to lure me basically and say, you can get a dog if you suck Jimmy's dick. And also Johnny and Andrew. And I don't know why she just said many times that happened. Like after the first time and my dog didn't come through, I would have I would never do it again. I'd be like, you fucking asshole. I wanted a dog. I told you this is what I would do for it. It's fair exchange. Give me my goddamn dog. And where I would just go get the dog. You know what I mean? Right? There's no way. No way. And see, here's the thing. Y'all know me. I'm a dirty, kinky bitch. And so we don't kink shame here. But we do need consent, which means you're adults, you're not animals. And my whole point is like, if you want to suck your guys' friends' dicks, that's totally fine. And you can do that for a dog or not for a dog. But if you negotiated a dog and you didn't get a dog first, don't do it again. Like, if you did it because you wanted to do it, then do it again. But don't do it again. Like, you know what I mean? Like, have some morals. Like, if you didn't get paid for your work, don't work there again.
So they're up to see, they have 6 grandkids in Traverse City and they love going to their sporting events. So sometimes they come up, we see them, sometimes they come up and we don't see them. Just depends on what they're up here for.
And Ms. Klusterman, do you anticipate that the children will continue to see your parents at like the same frequency once the divorce is finalized?
I guess it'll go down some, but they are up here multiple times a month to watch athletic. Like they try to hit. They're very fair grandparents in the fact that if they want to hit, like they go to Calvin's football games, they want to try to get to their other grandsons flag football or soccer or whatever they're into. So yeah, and now that all the grandkids are to like the sports playing age or concerts or that sort of thing, they want to be very active grandparents.
Ms. Klusterman, in the course of these proceedings, has the defendant told you that the children are not allowed to be around your parents?
Yes.
What has the defendant specifically said to you in such regards?
He has told me many times that my parents are evil and bad people and does not want anything to do with them. He's even said like he would consider reconciling our marriage, but because of them, he will not.
And Ms. Klusterman, have you ever told the defendant that the children are not allowed to be around his parents?
Never.
Are you willing to encourage a relationship between the children and the defendant's parents?
Always will, always have.
Did you attempt to engage with the paternal grandmother this past weekend?
Yes, I did.
And how did that go?
I didn't think. I tried to have a conversation with her, with Kelsey. She brought Kelsey to a hockey game. Kelsey and I were chatting about her hair, and I'm her mom. I could see that it hadn't been washed in a few days, so I just asked her about it. I knew she hates washing her hair. It's a battle I fight when she's with me because she has long, thick hair. And so I had asked her, I said, "Hey, sweetie, did you wash your hair this week?" And she said, "No." And
remember
sorry.
when that, no.
Just stop.
Just be
Okay.
careful, rember, we don't want to say what the kids told you. I know
Oh,
it's
yes,
difficult.
you're right. I had asked Kelsey about her hair, could tell, and I turned to Cheryl and I said to Kelsey, "Sweetie, I'm sure Grandma would love to help you wash your hair. Aunt Amy has very thick hair also, so Grandma's used to washing thick hair." I was trying to create a environment that if it was very hostile. My in-laws do not look at me. They do not talk to me. It's very evident in front of the children how they feel about me. And I was trying to ease that a little bit while we were standing waiting for the hockey game to start. And so I had told Kelsey, I said, "Kelsey, Aunt Amy has really thick hair. I'm sure Grandma would love to help you with your hair. You just have to ask her." And then to which Kelsey said, "Hey, Grandma."
Objection.
Sorry, yep. Cheryl, I probably can't say that. Clarified.
I think I understand. So you tried to engage with the paternal
Tried to
grandmother.
engage with my mother-in-law and my daughter just try to ease these huge tense situations all the time.
And were you reprimanded by the defendant for your efforts in this
Yes, I
regard?
was. Kevin sent me a message through the OFW that said, "You are not to talk to my mom. She wants nothing to do with you. What about this do you not understand?"
Ms. Klusterman, do you have any family members besides you mentioned you have a sister in the Traverse City area?
Yes.
How frequently do you see your sister?
The last 6 months, I see her and her 3 boys. We see them a lot, the kids and I.
Has the last 6 months in your interactions with your sister and the kids, has that changed from historic times that you saw your sister during the marriage?
Yes, I probably have seen my sister and my nephews more in the last 6 months than I have combined in the last 6 years.
And can you explain that change?
Other than the fact that I would try to hang out and Kevin would say they're stupid, they're boring, we don't have to hang out with them. It always seemed like there was birthday parties and everything else. He would never attend. He always had something else better to do. He was working or, he doesn't want to hang out with my family. And that was made very evident And so my sister and I had not been very close.
And going forward, is it your goal to have your children and your sister continue a relationship?
Absolutely. I think family is very important.
Ms. Klusterman, did you recently call the defendant's aunt, Barb?
Yes, I did.
Why did you call the defendant's aunt?
I called her to ask her if Kelvin could play in honor of her for the pink out night for the football game.
And were you reprimanded for this phone call by the defendant?
He was glad that I called to ask permission, but then I was told I crossed the line, and as a reminder, none of his family wants anything to do with me.
Ms. Klusterman, do you think it's important for the children to maintain a relationship with defendant's family?
Absolutely. I feel at this, like, we've raised our kids in very, very tight knit with his family. And that's what we've done. I think at this point, to not let them, like, I would never do that. Family is everything to me. Multiple times this summer, during my parenting week, I would let the kids go over with his mom or his aunt to do the traditional activities that we've always done. It's important for the kids to still see that and see their cousins. I mean, this isn't about them. We need to keep their life as consistent as possible.
Ms. Klusterman, Factor F of the best interest factors examines the moral fitness of the parties, and I want to discuss that, okay?
Okay.
Do you drink alcohol in excess?
No.
Do you use any illegal drugs?
No.
Do you use any prescription drugs in a non-prescribed manner?
No.
Have you ever been charged with a crime?
No.
Ms. Klusterman, does the defendant drink alcohol in excess?
No.
Does the defendant use any illegal drugs?
No.
Does the defendant use any prescription drugs in a non-prescribed manner?
No.
Has the defendant ever been charged with a crime?
Yes.
What crime has the defendant been charged with, or crimes?
I believe back in 2004, he had an ATV incident that he told me about. And then in 2019, he was charged with the domestic.
Ms. Klusterman, there was testimony earlier, but the domestic that you just referenced, was that involving you?
Yes, it was.
Ms. Klusterman, has the defendant ever admitted to you that he suffers from addiction issues?
Yes.
Ms. Klusterman, I'm going to ask you to look at plaintiff's exhibit 29. All right, Ms. Klusterman, can you explain what plaintiff's exhibit 29 is?
Yeah, it's a text conversation between Kevin and I.
Do you want a minute?
Oh my God, girl. You need to ease us into this. What the fuck? And I'm over here reading a text conversation that is not like the one we're about to hear. I guarantee it. And she just like snapped me back to reality. She's like, oh, are you happy? Oh, fuck you, bitch. Listen to my sad story for a minute.
Your Honor, can I just have a brief second?
Thank you.
And Ms. Klusterman, is the phone number at the top of this exhibit the 23164?
Just so you're aware. I mean, unless there's an objection about whether these numbers aren't theirs, I haven't heard that yet, but that's it's up to you, I guess, but.
No, but I appreciate that, Your Honor. I wasn't thinking about it in that regard. Excuse me. Ms. Klusterman, is this an accurate representation of your conversation via text message between the defendant and you on April 21st, 2023 from 9:10 a.m. until 9:24 a.m.?
Yes, it is.
Your Honor, I'd move to admit plaintiff's exhibit 29.
Any objection?
90% of it is not relevant. I guess no objection.
All right, 29 submitted.
All right, Ms. Kloosterman, I'm looking at Exhibit 29 here. Can you read for me the defendant's message at 9:19 a.m.?
Yes, the phone has caused so many addiction issues.
And Ms. Kloosterman, what addiction issues is the defendant referencing in Plaintiff's Exhibit 29?
I believe he's referencing the addiction
Objection,
of
speculation.
Respond.
Yeah, I'll withdraw the question, Your Honor. Ms. Kloosterman, has the defendant ever admitted to you that he has addiction issues?
yes,
Specifically, what addiction issues has the defendant told you he suffers from?
pornography and the need to communicate with other women or people.
And Ms. Kloosterman, has CPS ever been involved with your family?
Yes,
How many times has CPS been involved with your family?
3.
I apologize. I have to object to relevancy now that she's disclosed what the addiction issues are. I don't see how pornography or communication with other women relates to the children.
Your Honor, Factor F considers the moral fitness of the parties, and I think that an addiction to pornography and an inability to stop communicating with other women goes to a party's moral fitness.
And I would disagree with that. If you look at the case law on moral fitness, it specifically says that the Supreme Court has held that this factor evaluates the party's relative moral fitness only as it relates to how they will function as parents and not as to who is the morally superior adult. And that appears to be the Fletcher versus Fletcher case, 447 Mich 871 526 Northwest 2D 889 1994.
I've read that case. I agree with that interpretation. Does it relate? Are you planning on relating it to the minors? In other words, it's not just listing things, it's how it relates to the minors. That's my dumbed down version of that, but that's the way I summarize it. And I agree with the way Ms. Schmelzer stated it.
In response to that, my client strongly believes or has reason to believe that the addiction to pornography impacts his ability to communicate with her about the children.
Not testimony that I've heard.
Right, you could, so maybe you'll need to ask her about that. Otherwise, I would agree that's not something I've heard yet either.
Sure. So, okay. Ms. Kloosterman, so the defendant admitted to you that he is addicted to pornography, correct?
yes,
Can you explain do you believe that causes issues in regards to
Objection,
his
speculation.
I don't know yet. I think I'm gonna allow the question to see. I think that's what we're trying to figure out, if there is a foundation for it.
Mhm.
So I'm not overruling the objection in total, but part of what we're trying to do is get to whether there is any foundation. So I don't know if it's speculative yet because I haven't heard. Let's see.
Ms. Kloosterman, does the
Maybe,
defendant?
yeah, maybe the point is, I'm not sure that you need to rephrase. What's that?
I'll just remove the word believe from my question. I think
Sure, I was
asked
trying to help with a ruling, but yeah, you can go ahead.
Ms. Kloosterman, does the defendant's addiction to pornography impact his communication with you about the children?
absolutely.
Can you explain your answer?
Yes, there's been multiple times and instances where I am trying to parent with him. And I would ask him who's picking up so-and-so from practice, or who's stopping at the grocery store, or who's doing this and who's doing that. And his response always, his response would be nothing to do with the question that I asked that would have anything to do with the way our family functions. But he would ask if I had talked to so-and-so, or if I could do a sexual favor for him, or if I could send him a picture, or if I could ask him or like come in the bedroom and watch porn, and I'm trying to tuck the kids in bed. And so multiple times, multiple occasions, multiple years of me trying to parent our children, and I would ask for help or do things. And that, I think that was one of the exhibits actually that was admitted earlier where that was the case. Maybe it wasn't admitted.
Ms. Klusterman, has CPS ever been involved with your
Let
family?
me just finish my ruling that I find it to be at least relevant, whether it has weight. That's something I'll consider, but I don't believe that it's irrelevant at this time.
Ms. Klusterman, has CPS ever been involved with your family?
Yes,
How many times has CPS been involved with your family?
3.
When was the first time?
2019 with our domestic incident in October of 2019.
Was the reason for CPS involvement the domestic incident?
Yes,
When was the second time CPS was involved?
in December, which I recently learned about. There was a complaint about him yelling at the way he was talking to the children. And we were interviewed for that.
And from your understanding, was defendant's interaction with the children the reason for CPS involvement the second time?
Yes.
What was the
December of
third?
What year?
2020, December 10 of 2019.
Oh, thank you.
And when was the third time CPS was involved?
This past summer.
What was the reason for CPS involvement the third time?
When I went to the Women's Resource Center, I was talking to them about my case and seeking some help. And I was showing them some of the text messages that I had were going back and forth between Kevin and I. And they noticed some of the text messages that were around the text messages that I was showing them, and they asked me about them.
And Ms. Glisserman, do you ever tell jokes to your children?
Sometimes
What sort of jokes do you tell your children?
kid appropriate jokes, funny jokes, ones that are pretty cheesy.
Does the defendant ever tell jokes to the children?
Yes.
What sort of jokes does the defendant tell the children?
Funny, cheesy ones, but he also tells them very inappropriate ones that he thinks are funny.
Can you give an example?
Yes, one was give me a second.
Take your time.
I know the tagline, but I have to think of the first part. Like just one of them. If someone with big boobs works at Hooters, where does a one-legged man work? I have. There was one where something about a potato, and it was like, what do you call an in-charge potato? And it was a dictator. And like there's all like, or maybe it was like a potato with a penis. I don't know. It was something that was, there's so many jokes that have a sexual innuendo to them that for the longest time have gone over my children's heads. But now that they're getting older, especially our youngest, she's our ham. She loves jokes. Her and Kevin do dad jokes. I mean, her talent show thing was dad jokes. That's kind of their thing. But I'm becoming more and more alarmed now, the older she gets, that these jokes are becoming more and more sexualized in nature.
Ms. Glisserman, do you believe telling jokes with a sexual component to them are appropriate for the children?
No, not at their age.
Ms. Klusterman, have you ever confronted the defendant about like language that your children are exposed to?
Yes.
Ms. Klusterman, I'm going to ask you to look at Plaintiff's Exhibit 55. Ms. Klusterman, Plaintiff's Exhibit 55, can you explain what it is?
Yes, it's a text message thread between Kevin and I.
And I'm not going to go through the phone numbers, but is this the number that you typically communicated with Kevin at?
Yep.
Is this your phone number?
Yep.
And Ms. Klusterman, is Plaintiff's Exhibit 55 an accurate representation of the conversation between you and defendant from February 28th, 2020 at 3:20 p.m. until 3:37 p.m.?
Yes.
Ms. Klusterman, can you explain the substance of plaintiff's exhibit 55? Like, what are you and Kevin discussing?
We're discussing Kelvin and if about an incident that happened with him and a buddy and riding the snowmobile, if I remember correctly.
Your Honor, I'll move to admit plaintiff's exhibit 55.
Any objection?
Your Honor, I feel like a broken record, but I don't see the relevance here. This is a conversation between two adults that these children were not exposed to. I mean, this is about the kids and how each parent interacts with the kids and parents the kids and the children's. I mean, the court's decision is from the children's perspective. So without something more, I don't see the relevance of these text messages between two parents.
Response?
Your Honor, this is a conversation between two parents trying to parent one of their children. It goes to the parties' differences in what sort of material they think is appropriate for a 15-year-old child or 14, whatever his age is at the time, 11, to be exposed to. And if parents have a difference of opinion on that sort of material, I think it's directly relevant.
All right, exhibit 55 is admitted.
Ms. Klusterman, can you read the text message that you sent the defendant at 3:29 p.m. on February 28th, 2020?
Yes, it says he is putting us in a tough spot. It's talking about Kelvin. We will have a chat tomorrow. Still not worth calling him an ass.
So what position or tough spot are you referring to in regard to your child?
If I remember correctly, I think Kevin asked him not to do something and he did it anyway. And it put Kevin in like a sticky spot regarding, Kelvin listening to Kevin, that sort of thing. I don't remember the exact situation of what was the tough spot, but I do remember the fact that he called him an ass. And then he says, putting me in that spot is a dick move. It's his word choice of using all the time. And I said, further down, you can see for an 18-year-old, Kevin's saying he hears worse, just stop. And I said, well, for an 18-year-old, yes, but for an 11-year-old, he's learning what he can and can't do and what he should and should not do. And then you can continue on, but Kevin's like, don't ever go around the hockey team. I'm like, well, then that's an issue right there. These are 11-year-olds, like fifth graders. The conversation continues of what we think is appropriate and inappropriate for an 11-year-old.
Ms. Klusterman, did the defendant's response, when you read it, did you think he was taking your concerns seriously?
Absolutely not.
What do you find concerning about using that sort of language or locker room talk around children?
I think it creates an atmosphere and an environment. Have I sworn in my life? Absolutely. Is there an appropriate and inappropriate time to do so? Yes. Do you swear at your children? No. I think that's my concern is, you've heard some of the words he calls our kids. He says to them, like the swearing is part of the everyday language. But when it's directed at our children, that's my concern. It creates emotional instability. I'm trying to build our children up, making sure that they have self-worth and feel confident, as young human beings. And the derogatory swearing, I feel, is unnecessary. You can get points across in many other ways.
Ms. Klusterman, factor G of the best interest factors focuses on the mental and physical health of the parties involved. And I'm going to talk about that for a quick second. Do you suffer any physical health problems?
Nope.
Do you suffer from any mental health problems?
No.
Are you currently participating in any sort of therapy or counseling?
Yes.
Why are you participating in therapy or counseling?
I think the whole situation that we're going through, just as it's great for my children to go to counseling, I think it's important for us to as adults. It gives us a sounding board, gives us tools to get through life changes.
Do you believe that your counseling / therapy has been helpful to you or detrimental to you?
Helpful.
Do you think it's improved your abilities as a parent?
Yes.
Ms. Klusterman, to your knowledge, does the defendant suffer from any physical health problem?
No.
Ms. Klusterman, has the defendant ever expressed suicidal ideations to you?
Yes.
When was that?
This when early on and when our divorce was just starting to roll, I guess I should say.
And Ms. Klusterman, do you have any concerns about the defendant's mental health?
No.
Ms. Klusterman, has the defendant participated in any therapy or counseling that you know of?
Yes. I do know he did while we were through the domestic situation. He was required to attend classes. It was a men's group. I think there's times where the mental instability comes through very easily in the irrational text messages that I get at 4 a.m., 2 a.m. in the morning. I feel like he's not mentally well, in the fact that, there's a lot happening. And I think that's one of my concerns is the instability right now for the kids.
And Ms. Klusterman, I want to move on to factor H, but I'm wondering, Your Honor, if we could take a brief restroom break.
Oh, yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Thank you.
On 2317423 DM. Ms. Lentz.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Klusterman, before we left, I was about to turn to factor H of the best interest factors, which focuses on the children's home, school, and community record, okay?
Okay.
What extracurricular activities does Callie participate in?
She does travel hockey, school volleyball, school softball, and summer ball.
Who typically takes Callie to practice?
Well, right now it's like practices after school or after school. Kevin and I share that responsibilities as right now because of the week on, week off.
And prior to the temporary order, who typically took Callie to practice?
Probably more me than him, depending on the time of the day.
Who typically picked up Callie from practice prior to the temporary order?
Me.
Ms. Klusterman, who makes sure that Callie has the necessary equipment for practice?
Me.
What does that equipment consist of?
Depending,
Or I guess you would list a lot of
depending on the
sports.
sports.
I'm sorry. Yeah. Let's say
her-
hockey, for example.
Uniforms, protective gear, sticks, gloves for softball, that sort of thing.
And Ms. Klusterman, do you attend Callie's games?
Yes,
Does the defendant attend Callie's games?
sometimes.
I'm going to ask you to look at Plaintiff's Exhibit 34. Ms. Klusterman, can you explain what Plaintiff's Exhibit 34 is?
Yes, it's a text thread between Kevin and I.
And Ms. Klusterman, is the phone number in the left-hand corner the
Yes.
phone number you use for Kevin?
Yep.
That's your phone number?
Yep.
Is this accurate reflection of the conversation between you and Kevin from April 26, 2023 at 6:02 p.m. until April 26, 2023 at 10:10 p.m.?
Yes.
Ms. Klusman, what are you and Kevin discussing?
Is that 4 hour phone call? 4 hour angry phone call? Because recently I had a 4 hour, like, really nice phone call. Does that sound crazy? I talked on the phone for 4 hours and I really enjoyed it. But, and it felt like it was like maybe like 45 minutes. You know, when you have a phone call like that, where you're like, that was no way 4 hours. But your phone's like, yeah, Laya, it was 4 hours, bitch. I fucking timed you the whole time. And you're like, oh my gosh, wow, time flew. I don't think that was this kind of phone call, you know? You know, when you have a 4 hour phone call that feels like 16 hours and you're on the phone and you're just like sitting there holding on for dear life, like, Jesus Christ, is this ever going to be over? Anyways. I have a grin on my face because I had a nice phone call recently and I'm just pretending like these people, meh, that's their problem.
In plaintiff's exhibit 34?
We're discussing, it looks like I'm there watching Callie's softball game.
Your Honor, I'd move to admit plaintiff's exhibit 34.
Any objection?
No objection.
34 is admitted. Thank you.
Ms. Klusterman, on April 26, 2023 at 7:43 p.m., you texted the defendant, "Why are you leaving?" Where were you when you sent this text?
I was watching Callie's game.
And can you read the defendant's response at 7:46 p.m.?
Yep, it says Callie's attitude sucks.
And can you read his response at 7:46 p.m.?
She doesn't want to be there, so why should I?
Miss Klusterman, if one of your children does not have the best attitude during a game, do you leave the game?
Never have.
Why don't you leave the game?
I think that shows poor parenting, but I think it also shows that your love is conditional. It's conditional on how the kids play or how the kids perform or their attitude. That's not great parenting by any means.
And Miss Klusterman, in the event your children does have, like, let's say, a poor attitude at a game, do you talk to the children after the game?
Absolutely.
And how do you encourage the children to have a different attitude the following?
We talk about what factors played into their poor attitude. What could they do differently? How could they better act in a situation like that? And we had that conversation that night. Yeah.
And Ms. Klusterman, I'm looking at plaintiff's exhibit 34 again. At 10:04 p.m. on that day, April 26, 2023, the defendant texts you, "Offer is still on the table." Then again, 10:08 p.m. "Want to?" You respond with "Nope" at 10:09. What is this exchange about?
This exchange is about a sexual encounter.
Objection, relevancy.
Your Honor, can I respond? As I previously
Yes.
stated, factor F or K is for domestic violence. The definition of DV under 400.1501 includes placing a family member or attempting to cause a family member to engage in involuntary sexual activity by force, threat of force, or duress. And I would consider consistent badgering to my client, which has been previously testified to engage in sexual acts with him.
And let's just remember that might also be some people's kinks, to be sexually badgered all the time. I'm thinking of myself. That's why I don't do well at jobs, because my main form of like motivation is sexual harassment.
After she repeatedly says no, would classify as domestic violence.
I'll allow it.
Miss Kloosterman, are you, or was Callie upset that the defendant left her game early on this day?
Yes, that was the first thing she said to me when she came off the field.
Objection, hearsay.
Yep, sorry.
Sustained.
Miss Kloosterman, did you comfort Callie after the defendant left her game early?
Yes, I did.
Miss Kloosterman, are you involved with Callie's extracurricular activities in any other capacities?
Yes, I am.
Can you explain your answer?
Yep, I coached her softball team for East Middle School this past spring. Just finishing up the volleyball season, as you heard from Jess this morning. I am help with the team managerial stuff for hockey. I have a lot of roles in her sports.
Miss Kloosterman, what extracurricular activities does Kelsey participate in?
She does a lot of sports through the LEAP program, basketball, volleyball. She does play summer softball.
And what is the LEAP program?
That's the learning enrichment program through TCAP schools.
Who typically takes Kelsey to practice, like during your marriage? Who did that?
Who did that? Me.
And who typically picked Kelsey up from practice during your marriage?
Me.
Who typically made sure that Kelsey had the necessary equipment for practice?
Me.
Miss Kloosterman, do you attend Kelsey's games?
Yes.
Does the defendant attend Kelsey's games?
He, depending on the sport, yes. He was Kelsey's softball coach this summer. While I was coaching, I had coached previous years, and so we had said that it was the dad's turn this summer to coach the girls team.
And Miss Kloosterman, in September of 2017, did you create a fundraising page for a jogathon that Kelsey was participating in?
Yes, it's 2022.
I'm sorry,
That's okay.
in September of 2022?
Yes.
Okay. What is a jogathon?
That's Eastern Elementary's their big fundraiser that they do for the school through the PTO program, and they have class competitions, like each homeroom, set like who can sign up the most kids on their app and who can raise the most money. They just had it last week.
And why did you create a jogathon page for Kelsey?
I created it because it was a class competition. And their goal was that if every student in the class created this page, the first classroom that had all the kids participated by creating a page, they would get a pizza party.
Did the defendant instruct you to take the page down that you
Yes.
created?
Yes, he did.
Why were you instructed to take the page down?
Because he did not want to ask for money.
Ms. Kloosterman, what extracurricular activities does Kelvin participate in?
Travel hockey and high school hockey, hopefully, and football and track and golf recreationally.
And during your marriage, who typically took Kelvin to practice?
Usually football practices are after school.
And
So, but then now he walks home, but before I would pick him up.
Okay. And who typically makes sure Kelvin has the necessary equipment for practice?
I would say Kevin and I probably do, because I know the least amount of football. So, but I'm the one who this year went and got him his pants and his shield and his mouth guard. So even though I asked Kevin for input on what those are, I am the one actually going out and getting those items.
Okay, so to clarify, you asked the defendant what equipment is needed and then you purchase the equipment.
Yes.
Ms. Kloosterman, do you attend Kelvin's games?
Yes.
Does the defendant attend Kelvin's games?
He has not attended them regularly as of recently, no.
And Ms. Kloosterman, has Kelvin ever come to you with a problem in relation to one of his extracurricular activities?
Yes.
How did you handle that problem?
We talked about it. I gave him some advice. I asked what he was, what the struggle was, how he thinks he should handle it. What ways does he thinks would be an appropriate way to handle it? And I feel like our daily kind of like our dialogue doesn't normally stop. With any of my kids, but Kelvin too. It's continual most of the day, all day. I mean, with regards to not during class, but.
Ms. Kloosterman, when Kelvin comes to the defendant with a problem about sports, have you heard him say things like, quit your bitching?
Yes.
how frequently is that response given to concerns about sporting events or extracurriculars that the minor child expresses?
It might not be those words directly, but his feelings are never validated. He might be, have a question or struggling with something, but it's never greeted with open arms or an understanding that we could talk about it.
And Ms. Kloosterman, would you say overall the defendant provides positive or negative feedback to Kelvin in terms of his performance at extracurricular activities?
Negative.
Ms. Kloosterman, I'm going to ask you to watch a video, Plaintiff's Exhibit 7. Ms. Kloosterman, before I pull up the video, can you explain to the court what Plaintiff's Exhibit 7 is?
Yes, I believe that is Kevin and I, and it's Kevin talking about Kelvin.
And specifically, what is he talking?
He's talking about how Kelvin is uncoachable.
And is the minor child, Kelvin, present during this discussion?
Yes.
When did you film Exhibit 7?
May 2 or 3, probably May 2 of 2019.
And is Plaintiff's Exhibit 7 an accurate representation of what defendant said to the minor child at that time?
Yes.
Your Honor, may I proceed with playing the video? I kind of forgot what we're doing in that.
Yeah,
Okay.
play it, please.
Really because you just don't try it sometimes. Like my grandpa asked me last week if you even wanted to play hockey because you didn't care, you weren't trying. That's pretty sad that even grandpa didn't think you were trying. That's why they didn't come this week, because they thought you didn't try hard the week before.
That's why they didn't come.
Yeah. They didn't think his effort was there. Why would they waste their time if he's not going to try? Okay. Well, they weren't, when they have other things to do, they're not going to come if he's not going to try. He didn't even skate. He was just standing there. His effort stunk. I didn't want to be there. He didn't try. He did not. He did not prove to me that he wanted to be out there. He didn't want to be out there. Joel doesn't want to be out there either. Anytime you get on the field of the ice, you need to give it your all. You are almost uncoachable. That's part of me why I don't want you to. Everybody, those hockey coaches say you have all the ability in the world. Personally, I think you're uncoachable. So I don't think they're gonna get the talent out of you.
Your Honor, I would move to admit Plaintiff's Exhibit, I think that was 7.
Any objection?
No objection.
Admitted.
Ms. Kloosterman, can you explain, was the minor child upset from this discussion?
Yeah, I think he so badly wants to have he so badly wants to please his dad. And I mean, he's 12 at this time. And, Kevin, I feel like Kevin's talking to him like he's 16. These are things that we have to teach him. That's hearsay. I know, because I've been around him, I feel like he is one of the most coachable kids at, not always, he's 12 at this time, but he takes everything to heart and he's sensitive. And in this video, he's got tears rolling down his cheeks. I mean, how devastating to hear that your grandparents are choosing not to come watch you play because they think your effort sucks.
And Miss Kloosterman, did you comfort Calvin after this discussion?
Of course I did.
How did you comfort Calvin?
Arm around him saying, buddy, I will be there every time, whether you're having a bad day or not. This is your ability of how you play and perform does not correlate with whether I'm going to show up and support you or not.
Miss Kloosterman, did you make a football program ad for Calvin?
I did.
And can you explain what a football program ad is?
Yes. So one of the ads things that I do that I think Katie spoke of it this morning is the TC Central Athletic. It's the program that gets handed out at the beginning of the football game for purchase. And parents and parents can put in like a one-page ad, like highlighting pictures or highlighting their son or their whatever false athlete they have at the time. It's as part of the fundraiser. And so I created a half-page ad for Kelvin. I was pretty excited about it. I showed it to Kevin and it had some, it kind of highlights the kid other than just their athletic ability. So there was a picture of him skiing. I don't know exactly the pictures that I chose, but I also put on there his favorite Bible verse. And Kevin was mortified that I put Kelvin's favorite Bible verse on there. Kelvin memorizes scripture when he's with me at times. Like I know that side of our son. And I knew that was one of his favorite Bible verses. In fact, he wrote it on his hand and his arm just last week, Friday. This instance was a year ago, but it hurt me. It hurt my heart that Kevin was concerned that Kelvin should not let his light shine about who he really is in that situation. He was afraid Kelvin was gonna. I think he told me it was cheesy, and that he didn't want to put Kelvin in that situation to be mocked or teased because of his faith.
Ms. Kloosterman, did you end up removing the football program ad at the request of defendant?
I took the Bible verse out of the ad. Yes, I did.
Ms. Kloosterman, did you volunteer at an 80s hockey night fundraiser event in November of 2022?
Yes, I did.
Did any of the minor children volunteer with you?
Yes, it was a family volunteer event to raise money for the girls' hockey team.
Was the defendant supposed to volunteer?
Yes, as a family, we were all supposed to show up and be there.
Did the defendant show up?
He did not.
Ms. Kloosterman, during your marriage, did you tell the defendant about like volunteer activities that were happening at the kids' events?
Yes.
Did he ever indicate that he wanted to participate?
No.
Ms. Kloosterman, I'm going to ask you to look at Plaintiff's Exhibit 45. Ms. Kloosterman, can you explain what Exhibit 45 is?
Yeah, it's a text message thread between Kevin and I.
And Ms. Kloosterman, when is this message being sent?
It was this spring because I was talking about volleyball.
Do you have a year?
Yeah, 2023.
Spring 2023. Ms. Kloosterman, why does this text appear different than the other text messages we looked at earlier today?
It's a screenshot, like a screenshot versus using an app to download text messages.
And is that defendant's picture at the top of the?
Yeah.
Ms. Kloosterman, what are you discussing with the defendant in this exhibit?
I was showing him all the things that we needed to get our children to at that point that day. The volleyball email was talking about, I sent him a screenshot of it because he wasn't on the email list of the things that needed to get done. I was telling him I have a booster meeting tonight, and what's not in the screenshot is just me trying to be a parent and telling him this is the things we have to get our kids to tonight, to which I rolled. And then I was like, why the eye roll? It's my booster meeting. And he's like, no, to all of the texts. I don't give a crap about any of it. Just do your thing. All I need to know is Kelsey has volleyball at 4. Yeah. So I'm trying to include him in our family activities and kind of be like, where are you going to be? Who's picking who up and that kind of thing. And it's just like, leave me alone. Tell me what I have to do. And there's no cohesion of working together, trying to figure out the plan for our children.
Your Honor, I'd move to admit Exhibit 45.
Any objection?
My objection is lack of foundation as to the date that this text message occurred. I understand she said the spring of 2023. However, I think we already know sometime in the spring of 2023, the parties were in the process of separating. And I think whether it was before or after separation is key and relevant to its understanding in the context of all of this.
Your Honor, can my client have a second to reference her reflection of when this was? Or did I reverse that, strike it? Can she have a second to like think about when the date was by looking at the exhibit?
Yes.
Okay,
Can you pull it up for me?
yeah, I'm gonna pull it up for you so you can see.
Say something, ladies. Come on.
February 13 of 2023.
And February 13 of 2023, that was prior to you filing your divorce in
Correct.
May of 2023, is that correct?
That is correct.
All right, Your Honor, I would move to admit plaintiff's exhibit 45.
No
Any
objection.
objection? Okay, thank you. Admitted.
Ms. Kloosterman, did Calvin miss hockey practice yesterday?
Yes.
Can you explain why Calvin missed hockey practice?
He did not have his hockey bag
Where was his hockey bag?
in Kevin's truck.
Did you try to communicate with Kevin to get the hockey bag?
Yes, I tried. I sent 2 messages through the OFW to which he did not respond till yesterday mid-morning.
And what was the response you received?
The response was that he will communicate with through Kelvin about his hockey bag, that I do not need to be involved.
Ms. Klusterman, factor I is your children's preferences. You're planning on facilitating the children's participation tomorrow at their interviews. Is that
Yes.
correct?
At 4 o'clock, I believe.
Okay, and you've made arrangements for them to get
Yes.
set up. Okay,
Because we'll be here.
yeah, we'll be here. All right, factor J, Ms. Klusterman, the willingness and ability of each of the parties to facilitate and encourage a close and continuing parent-child relationship between the child and the other parent. I'd like to talk about that for a little bit, okay?
Mhm.
Can you list 3 positive qualities of the defendant as a father?
Yeah, I think he's invested. I think he's strong. He's he's loving.
And Ms. Kloosterman, do you believe it's important for the children to have a relationship with the defendant?
Absolutely. I have never not said that, or never thought that they didn't have a loving relationship with their father. I think that's important. I mean, kids need a mom and a dad. It's just my goal that it's a safe, healthy, and consistent relationship with their dad.
Ms. Kloosterman, do you ever speak negatively about the defendant in the presence of your minor children?
No.
And does the defendant ever speak negatively about you in the presence of your minor children?
Yes, very often.
Ms. Kloosterman, in a minute, I'm going to have you watch an exhibit which I've labeled Plaintiff's Exhibit 24.
What number, please?
24.
Thank you.
Ms. Kloosterman, can you explain kind of what Exhibit 24 is?
Yes, it's a conversation between Kevin and I that's in front of the children, or in front of the girls, I should say. Kelvin was not there. In front of the girls. It's the way he's talking to me and about me, blatantly in front of the girls.
And Ms. Kloosterman, did you film this exhibit?
Yes, I did.
When approximately did you film it?
June 24 of 2023.
And Ms. Kloosterman, is this clip an accurate reflection of the conversation that the defendant had with you in front of the children on June 24th, 2023?
Yes.
Your Honor, I'm going to proceed to play the clip and then, okay.
to stay home? They just said that they did invite you.
Your word against mine, I guess, right?
Yeah, we all know you're the liar.
Not the liar, Kevin.
Oh, really? That's funny that you say that. You're the liar, and everybody thinks so.
Well,
I hear a lot of even the people that you think are on your side are turning on you. Not gonna tell you who they are. With them in situations, but you push out your mom and dad. That's pretty sad.
or me. No, his dad is for both of us. Okay.
What's that they heard? I'm not talking about you consider.
Did you give her swimsuit again?
It's just sad that you lie so much. Everybody thinks you're a chronic liar.
Shame on both of them.
About your psych test, we're requesting that you take a psych evaluation. Have your attorney notified you of that yet? Okay, too well. Yeah. What were you looking for, sweetheart? No, did you find one? And we got sunscreen, you have a hat. You gotta have a hat. If hot.
Grab your bucket hat.
You got what?
She grabbed her bucket.
No. Happy to what?
Your Honor, I'll be moving to admit exhibit 24.
Ms. Spencer,
I object. It's a large majority of that is inaudible. I mean, a majority of it is inaudible. There's bits and pieces that are a little bit clearer, but you know, that would go to the rule 106 regarding completeness. I don't know that, I mean, without the entire context, I couldn't understand a single thing that the female voice was saying at all. And I think that would be an unfair depiction of what the entire conversation was, to not know what her side was actually saying, to not know completely what he was saying either.
admittedly, it was very hard to hear.
I understand, Your Honor, but I think there are portions of the conversation that can be heard. I don't think that that makes it inadmissible. I think that the defendant is here to provide context during his testimony if he believes portions of the video are not an accurate reflection of the conversation, or to provide context before or after the video.
Well, I guess in terms of admissibility, if it's something that I can't understand, what value does it have? That's my key. I mean, I would start there as I'm not sure. I mean, I couldn't really hear much of what was going on. So I'm not going to admit 24. I think you can ask your client questions about this whole situation. So it's not like you're not able to present evidence on this issue. It's just you want to, you're trying to corroborate it. I get that. I understand that, but I have to be able to discern what's going on from the evidence presented. So unless the last time that happened, we played it again and I could hear it better, but I really couldn't hear it. And I assume that you probably are playing it volume up since that remedied it last time. So I'll leave it to you if you want to try to play it again. But I like I said, I'm perfectly comfortable with. I just want to stress, I'm not saying your client can't discuss this incident. It's just I couldn't tell what was going on from that video.
Understood.
So that's my ruling. So 24 at this point is not admitted. But
all right, Ms. Kloosterman, exhibit 24, you said you filmed it on June 24th, 2023. Is that correct?
That is correct.
In front of the children, did the defendant call you a liar?
Yes.
In front of the children, did the defendant call you a whack job?
Yes, he did.
in front of the children, did the defendant insinuate that he would be requesting that you take a psych evaluation?
Yes, he asked if I had heard from you yet on when it was scheduled.
Ms. Kloosterman, do you believe it's appropriate to call your co-parent a liar in front of the children?
Absolutely not.
Do you think it's appropriate to request your co-parent take a psych evaluation in front of the children?
No,
Do you think it's appropriate to call the co-parent a whack job in front of the children?
absolutely not.
Ms. Kloosterman, these kind of exchanges that happen between you and the defendant, do any of your minor children ever stick up for you?
Yes.
Ms. Kloosterman, I'm going to ask you to watch Plaintiff's Exhibit 19. And Your Honor, before I do play that exhibit eventually, I would request that we go off YouTube as my client. There's an element of it that has her not fully clothed.
What? Finally.
And I don't think that the YouTube world needs to see that.
I disagree.
Understood. Let me finish a note real quick. I assume there's no objection to that, Ms. Melcher. I shouldn't assume, but is there an objection to that?
To going off of YouTube, no objection.
That's correct. Yeah. We'll address the exhibit itself.
Yeah.
In a second. Just the YouTube, just 1 second, please. And then based on MCR 8.116 D1A, I'll to protect the plaintiff's privacy here, I'm gonna.
Oh my golly, oh my God. I know I wanted it to keep playing, but apparently it's not. There is more. Don't worry, but it starts back up. Shut up, Judge. You already disappointed everybody, okay? Anyways, listen, it starts back up tomorrow. We will be having an extra long stream tomorrow night. Friday night, you know how we all have so much to do. So much to do on Friday nights other than hang out together with our online fam. Listen, if tonight was your first night here, make sure you hit the like button. If tonight was your 50th night here, make sure you hit the like button. If you dangle in, dangle out, I still love you. Please remember that. Do I have a rash on my neck? No, this is like what my tan has turned into from being in Florida. It's not a rash. I worked out today. Still sun. I think it's still sun. Anyways, remember, I love you. I'm proud of you. And I will see you tomorrow, which is Friday. Yay! Thank you all so much for being here. I love you. Bye. Find the button, find the button, find the button, find the button, find the button. Found the button. Love you guys. Bye.